What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Today is Saturday Tournament. If you don't know, Saturday Tournament is where we play 3 games with the deck. And like I said in last week's video, I'm going to try to focus on decks that we've already seen before. So that way we're not playing on main deck Monday or mainly main deck Monday. So on Saturday, we can see the new old decks being updated for Breakpoint. And today we are focused on Seismitoad Giratina. Now, this deck has seen a lot of success in Expanded, but really hasn't seen anything in Standard, and I think that this deck is amazing in Standard, and is one of my top picks going into States format, because it's such a strong deck. Now, if you don't know, Seismitoad EX, Quake Punch, I don't know how you don't know about Seismitoad EX, but Quake Punch does 30, your opponent can't play the item cards from his or her hand during his or her next turn, and if you haven't heard me talk about Seismitoad, the majority of the field all play item cards, and once you Quake Punch, your opponent can play a lot of those. Like there's VS Seekers, there's Trainer's Mail, you have certain tool cards, you have Ultra Balls, you have Love Balls, Heavy Balls, Rare Candies. All that stuff can't be played when you Quake Punch, which is why I love Seismitoad EX. They can't play Crush Hammers, their Links, the Enhanced Hammers, the list goes on and on and on. Alright, so this is going to be your main attacker. Well, you're going to be like, 30 damage, that's not much. Like what? 30 damage, that's nothing. Well, you're going to have a backup attacker. His name is Giratina EX. Now, Giratina EX has the ability Renegade Pulse. Prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Mega Evolution Pokemon. Now, Seismitoad does struggle with Mega Evolution Pokemon because they do so much damage while Toad is barely hurting them. Like if they have 240 HP, it's going to take you a long time before you knock him out. So Giratina makes it where Megas can't hurt him, and it also has a really strong attack. Chaos Wall does 100 damage, and your opponent can't play any tools, special energies, or stadium cards from their hand during their next turn. And this is great. It makes it where, if they play DCEs, they play Double Dragon Energies, certain special energy cards like Flash Energies, they can't play those because you just Chaos Will them, which is amazing, and I love this card a lot. And also it does 100 damage, and with a Fighting for Your Belt, you can do 110 damage, which can knock out Shaman, because Shaman EX has 110 HP, which is really, really nice. So your main two attackers are going to be Toad and Giratina. Now, the deck still plays a Hoopa to help set up, and Shaman to help draw 6 cards in your hand. Usually you're going to Ultra Ball, get a Hoopa, getting out a Toad, Giratina, and Shaman. Depending on who's in your active spot, you could get maybe 2 Giratinas and a Shaman, maybe, 2 Toads and a Shaman. It depends on the situation for sure. That's all the Pokemon you're going to play in the deck. You're going to play 4 Crush Hammer, flip a coin if it has discard energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon, and this is where the deck shines. The whole point of the deck is to run your opponent out of energies, and then when you do that, you pretty much win because they can't attack you anymore. 1 Escape Rope, and the reason why Escape Rope is in the deck is for Stardust Drachi. If your opponent plays Stardust Drachi, they can discard a special energy attached to your active Pokemon, and making it where it can't hurt you. They can't be hurt next, or it can't be hurt next turn. But you can Escape Rope, switch the Drachi out of the active spot onto the bench, and then you can use Lysander to bring it back up to knock it out with the Giratina EX. It might seem like it's really impossible to do, but you gotta remember that you are Quake Punching them, and this means they can't use Ultra Ball or Love Ball to search out the Drachis. They have to manually draw into these cards, and that is very hard to do when your deck is like a bunch of item cards, and you just Sycamore play your 1 supporter card for the turn, and then you're in trouble. Now, the deck also plays 4 Puzzle of Time. We've seen this before in Night March and multiple decks, but Puzzle of Time, if you play 1 card, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and put them back in any order. Now, this could be used to help you draw to the cards you want to a Shaman. Like, let's say you have 6 cards in your hand. When you play Shaman, you're going to draw 1 card. But you can use Puzzle Time to make sure that your top deck is somewhat good. Like, you're like, oh, I need a supporter card, and then you Time Puzzle, and you see that Sycamore is going to be the 3rd card. You can then move the Sycamore to the top card, and then make sure you draw into it with Shaman, which is amazing with Time Puzzle, or Puzzle Time, either way, whichever you call it. But the second attack is, or second effect is where it shines. If you play 2 cards, if you play 2 of these cards, you put 2 cards from your discard pile into your hand. Now, this is any 2 cards. This is give back your Escape Rope, your Crush Hammers, your Special Energies, supporter cards, anything you want, Puzzle Time can get it, and that's why I love this card so much. 4 Super Scoop Up, flip a coin of heads, put 1 Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your hand. This is obviously to pick up your Toads, your Giratinas when they're hurt, but you can pick up Shaman to help draw through your deck more quickly, whatever you want to say it. For Trainer Spell, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, pick a trainer card and put it to your hand. For Ultra Ball, now usually early game, like I said, Ultra Ball is going to search out Hoopa to search out these guys, and then later on, you're using Ultra Ball to discard certain supporter cards so that you can VS Seeker for them later. Maybe Ultra Ball to thin your deck down before you Sycamore. Early game, like I said, you need the Ultra Ball early game, so that's why you play 4 of them, but later on, you really don't need them anymore. Or VS Seeker to reuse supporter cards, and there's a bunch in here. So 1 AZ, pick up 1 Pokemon into your hand, put 1 Pokemon in your hand and discard all cards attached to that Pokemon. And this is so if they license like a Shaman or a Giratina without any energies, you can just pick it up automatically instead of wasting Super Scoop Ups on it. 1 Judge. Now Judge is really good in this deck because you're gonna judge your opponent down to 4 and then Quake Punch, making it where their hand is useless. And since they play a lot of item cards, they'll most likely draw into those item cards and Judge. Once you Quake a Punch, they can't play those item cards, so that's why Judge, it's a great card. And you can save your puzzle time if you do draw into them instead of using Sycamore. 1 Life Center, bring a Pokemon off the bench. 4 Sycamore, discard your hand, draw 7 new cards. 2 Team Flare Gun, you discard an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon, which is great. You're going to discard it, and if they attach to the bench, you do have Crush Timer, but if they're attached to the bench, that means the active's not hurting you, which is fine as well. Now, the only thing that might be scary is if they load up a giant Evital on the bench. You might be in trouble that way if they bring up an Evital with, 8 energy. No, 7. Yeah, they bring up an Evital with 6 energies. Yeah, 6 energies, because 6 in the body, 7, 8, 9. That can one-shot your Giratina and your Toad, but once again, they have to draw into those cards, so that will be kind of hard to do as well. But Team Flare Gun just discard energy off the active. And also, you have Xerosic, which could discard DCEs off the bench Pokemon as well. Xerosic, choose a tool or special energy card in play. Choose a Pokemon tool or special energy card attached to a Pokemon in play and discard it. Yours or your opponent's. Now, like I said, you could discard DCEs or certain tool cards like Fighting Fear Belts. The really cool thing what you can do is you can do a lot of damage with Seismitoad, bring a Pokemon up to 180, 190, then Xerosic the next turn to discard a team that the Fighting Fear Belt if they attach it for some reason turn 1, and then you can make it where they get knocked out and then you can hurt the Pokemon, which is pretty cool. I like that thing a lot. Now the deck does play 2 Shadow Circle, and a lot of people are going to be like, 2 Shadow Circle? What? Squeaky, what are you thinking? Why are you playing Shadow Circle? Well, I personally like this card. A deck that scares me a lot is Aromatisse. Aromatisse is such a good deck against this. Aromatisse with Florges, Xerneas, any of those cards can destroy this deck because it hits for weakness on Giratina. He's weak to Fairy, and Toad can only take so much damage, and it's going to constantly be hit over and over again for 120, 120, 120, 120, 120. And you're eventually just going to lose the game. So, with Shadow Circle, you have the option to not only get rid of Fairy Garden, but to make it where your Giratina is not getting one-shot by Fairy Pokemon. Then you can use Super Scoop Up, pick it back up if you need to. It still gets knocked out if it gets hit twice, but at least you can Chaos Wall the Chaos Wall to knock them out. They're not taking a one-shot because Toad is only doing 30 damage and 30 damage, which is not a knockout. But if you Chaos Wall the Chaos Wall, you can then knock him out, which is pretty cool. 3 Fighting Fear Belt, which is pretty good. I might cut 1 for Muscle Band because there's some situations you need that plus 20. But Fighting Fear Belt, your Pokemon get 40 more HP. So now Toad has 220. Yeah, 220, and then Giratina has 210 HP. So they're even more tankier now. 210, 220, that's such a hard number to hit. And then you have Super Scuba to pick it back up. And this makes Evital, which is probably Sidestow's worst matchup, even harder to knock out. Or it makes it harder for Evital to knock you out because you have so much HP now. 2 Flowstone, give your Pokemon for your treat, like Hoopa or Shaman. 2 Headringer to slow down EX Pokemon. You attach this onto your opponent's EX Pokemon. And then you need 1 more color's energy to attack, which is cool. 3 Double Dragon Energies. And remember, Shadow Circle says each Pokemon that has any dark energies attached to it has no weakness. But with Double Dragon Energy, it provides 82 energy cost. So while it's providing the Grass and Sucky energy, it's also providing the Dark energy for Shadow Circle, which is pretty neat. And then 4 DC, and that's the deck. It is like there's some cards you can play like Giovanni Scheme, Pokemon Center Lady, Delinquents. You can play. I'm trying to think of what else you could play. Maybe Enhanced Hammer. This deck, like, it's so flexible. It might not seem like it's flexible, but you can just like instantly cut like an AZ, a Team Flare Grunt, maybe cut the Escape Rope if you don't think Drawitch is going to be that play, and you can start fitting other cards into the list that you want to see played. Now, once again, I really do love this deck a lot. It's a really high consideration for my plays for states. So make sure you test this deck out. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something new about Seismitoad, Giratina, and Standard. And it's a really good deck, like I said before. But we'll see 3 games with this deck, and we'll see what happens in the Saturday tournament. Can we get a win or not? We'll see what happens. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video of Saturday tournament. Have a great day. Alrighty.